Tensions between sapiens and humans are high. I mean, it makes sense. Ever since the shift, no one really knows where they stand, but I want to believe there's a chance for peace like what I found. I thought I escaped the suffocation of their expectations, but lately, I find myself feeling that way about him.
I told you he will never understand you. Humans see us as a threat. The only way to get them to listen is to riot.
You snuck into our family and ruined the bloodline.
You can't keep running away.
I feel like I'm losing control. I can't take it.
Ro, are you good?
Maybe this feeling is a product of love.
Hi, welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about how I made my original graphic novel series, the Eclipse Project. So this book here has been in the making for, I want to say, about 3 years and some change. It's always been something that I'd wanted to do. Since I was younger, I would always kind of write stories and illustrate them, and I thought I would share kind of how I finished it and completed it as someone who didn't go to school for it, who isn't a professional, and it's kind of a hobby. So I'm gonna kind of make it a little bit easier to digest by dividing things into sections, because I feel like it wasn't a linear thing to create. So we're gonna start with I actually started with 2 characters, and the idea was just to kind of like personify my own feelings and how I was always feeling like I felt like I was kind of 2 people at once. So the moon self is the me who's quite introverted, is more feminine leaning and kind of keeps to herself and is very artistic and kind of does her own thing in her own bubble, whereas Solaris, the sun one, is basically my more outgoing side, my funny side, the me that likes to explore, the me that kind of likes to be around friends and be outside. So yeah, I designed these 2 characters. They're twins, and I would just do these doodles of them and it didn't mean anything, and I was like, wait, I could give them some backstory, and then this whole world built outward from it, and that is book 1 of the Eclipse Project. So technically this is a prequel, and the next issue will be more about the characters that I intended to make the story about. It was really important to me to kind of make my characters black or of color, because I don't see enough representation in nerdy atmosphere, and I was like, see the change you want to see in the world. But this book is about Rosera. So this character in purple, I fell in love with her, drawing her, writing her. I could draw her with my eyes closed, and I think that's something that people are scared about when it comes to having an OC or making a comic or animation, is having that consistency with a specific character so that they always look the same. And yeah, I feel like I really found that with her, assigning like star signs or colors, or even referencing like popular characters and relating them to mine, helps me build a stronger character profile. This is my absolute favorite thing to do. Like, okay, so I have multiple notebooks, multiple sketchbooks, and an email thread where I would just start putting notes. So it started out with kind of like a synopsis, and then from there added some more detail. I then kind of divided it up into scenes or chapters, and then from there I would make a script. This notebook here, literally full of doodles, scribbles, and I find that rewriting the story in different forms over and over again, even if I'm repeating myself, really helps, because there's always going to be little differences, and that helps me translating the story that I want to, if that makes sense. Doodles like this, literal world building, drawing maps, just to kind of get a sense of this world space. What do the buildings look like? What's the weather like? Floor plans to be like, okay, she's looking out the window. When she stands up, she turns left. Is she looking at her bed, or is she looking at her room? World building is constantly waffling and developing as much lore as you can. And then from there, I could move on to things like I would use my notebooks and my sketchbooks. I would kind of just do very, very vague sketches and shapes and page layouts. And I use Pinterest a lot. Like, people talk about doom scrolling. I doom scroll on Pinterest. Storyboarding kind of goes hand in hand with brainstorming, and I would use Pinterest to kind of get an idea of what I wanted page layouts to look like. And when I first started, they were very, very basic. And then I kind of found my footing and found like more dynamic page layouts. So many comics and graphic novels to reference. I reference a lot of Marvel, and very dynamic poses. Junji Ito, it helps me be aware of like how my lines are, because after a while it gets quite exhausting just kind of drawing and drawing rather than being intentional with why the lines look a certain way. I definitely enjoy mixed media, so there are some pages that I did by hand. Also the front cover, the back cover were mixed media, but I would also develop most of my pages on Eclipse Studio Paint. Not gonna lie, my workflow process started off a little bit of a mess, but after years of practice, I gradually kind of found something that worked for me. So what I would usually do after building my pages on some card, or even just like little sketches that I felt were perfect for the page, I would scan those into the computer, and then I would draw my line art first, and then build in flat colors and then shadows like that. I used to do the colors and the shadows first, but I definitely found that this way allows me to be a lot more smoother. I actually started the first chapter maybe 2 years ago, when I was intending on releasing little snippets, like tiny little comic issues, until I realized how much time that would take. Honestly, looking back now, the art in it's not great. The line work wasn't great, the characters weren't quite there yet, and the story didn't quite make sense. But it's nice to have, because having that now and compared to the full book, it honestly makes me emotional, because you can see how far I've come. Having something printed as well at different intervals really helped me know what bits I needed to fill in and where I was kind of headed. And yeah, like 2 years later, I came back to them and redrew a whole bunch of pages with the new skills that I had learned, with the new experience that I had. So I think the big thing for me coming into this is that I really wanted it to be a physical book, but I also know that webtoons are very, very popular and they're something that everyone can access. So that was definitely something to note. Putting some effort into appealing into an audience is important. I wanted it to be somewhat lucrative. So after watching a couple other YouTubers and people that I follow on Instagram who make comics themselves, a lot of them seem to be using this website Mixam. And I did kind of cross-reference a whole bunch of websites to see what would work best for me, but these guys ended up being the most cost-effective and also the easiest to use. So the layout is basically like any other art printing website. Page weight, what kind of paper, for the inside, how many pages, what would the texture be, would it be gloss, would it be matte? But I knew that I wanted this matte finish. And then once I had chosen these presets, I get to a page where you basically upload and assign all of your pages. My book is about 82 pages long, so this kind of works to around £200 for about 70 copies. I'm quite an impulsive person, and I was so excited about getting the story done that I kind of just wanted to order the whole batch immediately, but I paced myself and I ordered like a draft copy just so that I could have something printed and go over final checks just to see if the printing was how I wanted. I color coded the sticky notes for any typos, if the colors came out correctly, or if I made any mistakes, things that I might have missed on the computer screen. Seeing it in a different format may have helped. And when I ordered this copy, they actually gave me two. So now I had one that I was able to kind of edit and one that will always be the first original copy of the Eclipse Project. And then I went back and redesigned all the pages again, uploaded them again, and I was finally happy to make the final order. I hate the current climate of being real creative in this day and age. Although we live in a climate where it's very easy to be discovered, it's also very easy to get burnt out, and it's very easy to feel overwhelmed by constant eyes on you and people expecting something. So I definitely went through like weeks of like, okay, I'm going to post 3 times a day on TikTok, and then it just faded away. Avoiding burnout is the most important thing for you. So when you have that energy, use it. And whether it's a week or a month, put your energy into scheduling posts, recording stuff, filming as much content as you can, so you have something for when you have the energy again. Understanding the algorithm for each of your websites really helps. It's something that I didn't want to do, but I had no choice really to fall in line. So for example, TikTok relies on capturing your attention immediately within those 3 seconds. So I really had to think about creating tension or grabbing my audience immediately by maybe putting a final piece, or kind of doing a slow reveal, or leaning into like a slow ASMR soothing video. It took me a while to find what worked for me, and if I'm honest, I still haven't really gotten there. It's a lot of playing around and finding what works to you. TikTok is so hit or miss. You could put so much effort into a video and no one cares. And you could also half-heartedly post something that's like scraps to you, and somehow it's your best performing video. With Instagram, it's a completely different thing. I definitely think Reels are following in their footsteps, and using things like trending sounds or showing your face definitely boost your posts. So I just tend to recycle my TikTok videos and put them on Instagram with their trending sounds. But when it comes to posts, we're doing a slideshow. So maybe the first post will be the final product, and then maybe a process video from Procreate, and then some detail shots. And always, always, always post a story of the post, because the timeline is practically non existent. People are only really checking stories, unfortunately. Showing up to marketplaces, and letting people split through my sketchbook, and creating obviously the little issues like this. I made 2 of these, chapter 1 and chapter 2. I used to just leave them on the train, in offices, libraries, bookstores, just so people see my work. Then I had a QR code, my artist name, and a little bit more information. I gave one to my manager, and he actually brought it to New York to give to Stan Lee's assistant, which is crazy. Just having tangible things. People love free stuff. Stickers, absolutely yapping constantly about the stuff that I make. It's all I can do, and I can't help it. So that's the best way. The internet, not my thing, but because I love what I do, I assume everyone else loves it too. And I've come a long way for that, because I used to really want people to love it. And so what I made was something that I didn't love. It's a learning curve. Anyway, ultimately, this was a really emotional process for me. It's something that I've literally always wanted to do. And when I got the final copy in the mail, I literally chased the postman for it. Like, I was so excited, because I really gave myself as much time as I needed to create it, and I often tend to rush through my work, and this process really made me trust my instincts, my craft, and enjoy the process of creating something. I first started the story, and it didn't mean much to me, and it didn't make much sense at all. And usually I would abandon a project like that because it didn't seem like it was going anywhere. But I came back to it after a couple months or even a year, and just built on it and developed it and nurtured it. And I really think that's the key to a project like this. If you're a creative like me, where you want to see end results and you want to see a finished product, maybe try moving on to something else. Go experience the world, go experience life, whether it's to get inspiration or it's just because you need rest. And I promise you, that idea that lived within you as a child, or that idea that you had that one time, you haven't failed it. It's still there. And if you want to continue it, you have literally all the time in the world. And whether it comes in 10 years or tomorrow, it still means something. The Eclipse Project is my baby, so if you do want to check it out, please do, and tell me what you think. Even if you hate it, just tell me. I love to hear it. And yeah, thank you for watching.